I
Let-
had a good day.
Why don't you introduce yourself? Like, what's your name? Steve.
I'm Steve Sandberg,
Nice.
and I met Rory just a couple of days ago. My YouTube channel suggested your video about getting sober through ayahuasca, and I was just so resonating with what you had to say. I was like, oh my God, I have to talk to this guy. And then since then, we had an amazing phone call the other day. Is really, really beautiful. It really touched my heart.
Yeah, I'm glad that I called you because I got your email and you said that you were available to talk at 10 a.m. And I kind of got
Yeah.
it, didn't really see it till last minute. And I was kind of feeling like, oh, I'm a little tired, but there was something in me. I was like, I just got to call you. So I did. And that conversation we had,
It was deep.
it
It
was
was
deep.
great. It was great. I loved it. Yeah.
Me too.
I mean, I think what you're doing is so right on. And what struck me about your video was what you had to say about integrating the psychedelic experience was so sober, to use that word, and just so mature. And I really resonated with it, and so I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's pretty much what our conversation was about the other day.
Yeah,
But we had like an hour and a half conversation, or at least an
yeah,
hour. Um,
yeah. I think it was an hour and a half because I walked around Central Park twice
nice. That's
when we
great.
were doing it. Yeah, it was a nice setting for it too.
I've only been down there a few times. I've never walked around too much like the park, but I have walked around a bit. But yeah, so anyway, I think it's important to cover, kind of what you told me, if you're willing to talk about, your past growing up. You grew up in New York City, right?
I did, yeah. I grew up in Brooklyn, and it was uh, like it was a middle class Jewish neighborhood, and they greatly valued education and the arts. And I was blessed with a stable home, and the schools were amazing back then. This was I mean, let's see, I was in public school in Brooklyn in the '60s, and just the level of education was so high. And then I went to a college, and I mean to a high school in Brooklyn, a public high school, and the same thing. I mean, it just very really a real value in learning and education and all that. On the other hand, it was very competitive, and I had a lot of I mean, no more than anybody, but I had my share of unhappiness, and that I started on a pathway to addiction at a very, very young age, which I didn't really understand until I did Iboga. But I started uh, just sexually experimenting with other boys my age around that time, and it wasn't like anyone was abusing us or anything like that. But it really wasn't until my second Iboga journey that I really understood why that was the beginning of my addictive path. I mean, I otherwise I was kind of thinking it as just very innocent childhood sex play, but what I understood later was that was the beginning of the pattern of having a secret, very high adrenaline place to go to, um, that I went to avoid dealing with emotional stuff that was going on, avoiding dealing with feelings that were happening at the time of being abandoned by the love of my father and not knowing how to handle that. And this, and I think that's such a overall definition of addiction. No matter what the substance or behavior is, it's I think a lot of it has to do with excitement and overstimulation, going to a very highly overstimulated place, um, uh, and so that the nervous system just kind of like gets overstimulated, and it overrides what really needs to be dealt with.
Yeah. And just for people that may watch this and hear you talk about Iboga, I know what that is, but would you care to elaborate on what you mean by Iboga?
Iboga is an African plant medicine. It's a tree, actually. that I was lucky enough to have two experiences with pretty late in my life. I mean, I'm 65 now, and this happened when I was 57, and I had a lifetime of really deep struggle with addiction. I mean, I had a lot of success in my life, and I also had this sexual addiction and drug addiction too. I was really, basically, my drug of choice was cocaine and pot, and that was very, very deeply imprinted into my life. And uh, yeah, when I was 57, I'd had a big relapse. I thought I had conquered this. I'd been sober for 7 years. I had a slip, and and at this point, I just couldn't stop, and was really, really in a bad place. And I thought I tried everything: 12-step recovery therapy, smart recovery, Buddhism, anything you could think of. And excuse me, we really had a miraculous experience of someone showing up literally on my doorstep. Um, and 2 weeks later, I was doing an Iboga ceremony.
Right. So Ibogaine, which, like you said, comes from Africa.
I began is derived from Iboga. So
Right. Okay.
Iboga is the tree.
It's the bark of the tree, right?
It's the bark of the tree, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
Although I think there are also yellow seeds too. But I
Okay.
think that I think what I ingested was the powder of the bark of the tree.
Okay.
And
And it produces psychedelic like effects. I mean, I know quite a bit about it. Not as maybe not as much as you, but I know that it has like for you, like these transformative healing properties when used in the right setting.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
and what I want to say is like relating that to my story where I had an ayahuasca experience that was very transformative. It's a different drug, it's a different psychedelic substance, it's a completely different molecule when you get right down to the science of it. But um, I'm very curious about Ibogaine because I've only seen and heard people talk about it. So, anyways, that's
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
fun.
they in the people in the traditions, apparently they call ayahuasca the mother and Iboga the father. And I mean, from what I've heard about people's experiences, I'm not so sure that's accurate. I mean, I have very, very limited experience. I've never done ayahuasca and don't plan to do any more psychedelics in my lifetime. But I I've been told this, and the reputation that Iboga has is that it's kind of like a stern father, and it really shows you where you've been off the path and what you need to get back on the path. But from what I've heard, people have very strong experience with that on ayahuasca too, and I had a very, very, very loving vision from Iboga too.
Yeah,
So Iboga is just what came to me, and it was I was um, I was uh, happened to meet by chance two people who had been to Africa and were working with it at the time. And yeah, I mean, at the time I did it, I was just, I was like 57. I had a year and a half of honestly, I really was hoping I would overdose and die because I just thought this pattern couldn't be healed in my lifetime, and I was in so much pain, and I was looking to really overdose. But I had a moment of sanity, as they say, and took an ad out saying that